So today we're going to be comparing the three most common types of straps available for lifting: lasso straps or lasso straps, figure eight straps, and multi grips, otherwise known as VersaGrips of Mike Israetel fame. These aren't the famous VersaGrips because I don't want to spend, I think it's $80 on straps. They are from Cerberus Strength, these ones. I don't know totally the difference between the ones that are available from all the other makers and VersaGrips, but they are about a third of the price. And we're going to be breaking them on four different criteria: versatility, ease of use, price, and comfort. So you can figure out which one's probably best for you. And we're going to do four tests. Most of them are pulling, but these ones, these multi grips, also purport to have wrist support when you tighten them, similar to wrist straps. So we're going to see if they also have that use. And we're going to come to a conclusion based on my subjective opinion. Okay, we're going to start with some deadlifts. We've got 150 kilos on the bar, and we're going to start with these multi grips. I've only had these about a week, and I've only used them twice before. I have to say, a selling point of them is that they look like a giant tongue, at least these red ones from Cerberus. They're pretty easy to use, to put on once you've done them a couple of times and you know what you're doing, to get them nice and tight so that they sit on the base of the hand. Although you're going to watch me put them on, and they're not that elegant. But remember, I've only done them a couple of times, used them a couple of times. So yeah, overhand grip, obviously. And the first one is kind of awkward to grab, and so is the second. That is annoying that you don't. It's an annoying thing you don't get with either of the other straps. And that rubbery texture, as you can probably hear, is slightly unusual if you're used to other straps. They don't feel like they're going to give. It's a rubber thing, but it doesn't feel stretchy at all. Only used them a couple of times, but the knurling doesn't seem to dig in or damage the texture of the rubber. So yeah, that was okay. It didn't feel weird, but then again, 150 kilos isn't that much. But if you were doing like some cheap rows or something with it, some RDLs, I think they'd form just fine. All right, next up we got figure eight straps. Now figure eight straps are basically designed for deadlifting, and they give you some advantages, and they're usually banned even in most strongman competitions nowadays, because of the way you can get the weight in your fingertips. They're exceptionally easy to put on, even if you're not used to them. It's pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to go under, put your hand through the second loop, and then you're going to put them on the outside of the hands. I don't use them very often, so I'm probably not the best technician to show you how to use them or put them on. I almost certainly don't get the most out of them compared to with some people. Yeah, they feel good. These ones were from Strength Shop, but they're pretty much all the same. I think they come in different sizes. Pretty sure they come in different sizes. And actually, it matters a little bit. I think I could do with slightly smaller ones, so they're a little less in the fingertips for me, actually, just because I think these are a little big. But no, they feel great for deadlifts, but that is what they're designed for, so no surprise there. Okay, last but not least, we have figure eight straps. Now, I've got a few things to say about these, and I've left them for last on the deadlift for a reason. These are the ones I most commonly use, as you can see from the discoloration and the general wear on them. I misuse these. The way you're supposed to wear them is the opposite of the way I wear them. The way you're supposed to wear them is so that the strap goes across the thumb that way. I wear them in the opposite direction, on both hands, as you can see, going towards the pinky, because honestly, I find it much more comfortable this way, and it doesn't seem to make any difference as far as what they give you in terms of grip. And if I don't wear them this way, I wear them the correct way, it rubs all along my thumb and my wrist. So it's far more comfortable for me to wear them in the opposite direction, which might make them a little harder to put on. But honestly, it doesn't make a vast amount of difference. But just so you know, before anyone says, if anyone is watching this, oh, he's wearing them the wrong way. I'm aware I'm wearing them the wrong way, if that matters at all. They do take a little longer to put on. If I was wearing a belt and it was compressed in my midsection, I would almost certainly have to kneel down. You could bend over and do this, and you can do them at the same time. And once you get used to how they go on, it's not particularly difficult to put them on. But I think the learning curve is there. So let's go. And as you can see, I've left the tails hanging, but feel free to wrap them all the way around. It honestly doesn't matter. It just will mean that it's a bit fatter in the hand. But it gives you such a grip improvement, it won't matter. Okay, next we're going to do pull-ups. Now the reason we're doing pull-ups, and the reason it's a different test in my opinion to deadlifts, other than weight and the starting position, is that putting straps on when it's overhead on a pull-up bar can prove to be difficult in my opinion, or at least different enough from an overhand like deadlift grip that I think it is somewhat of a valuable test. And yeah, so these multi-grips went on fairly easy, easier than the deadlift to be honest. And you hear about Mike Israetel saying I'll use them on pull downs a lot. Seems like every advertisement he does is about pull downs and why you should use them on these sort of vertical pulls. Yeah, they give you perfect grip support. I just my thumb isn't in use at all here. I haven't got it over, but you could happily have it over, and it makes no difference. You could hang here until your shoulders come out of sockets. Okay, next we've got figure eight straps. Now these are not designed, in my opinion, for pull-ups or any kind of vertical pull. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform. That was kind of easy. I don't know if I've ever used them on a vertical pull before, because I explicitly bought them for deadlifts. Oh yeah, they don't give you as much grip support. I mean, you could. I wouldn't want to take my hands out of the grips. To be honest, I think I'd fall on my knees. But they give you more than if you didn't have them on at all. To be honest, but yeah, I don't know. They're definitely not as comfortable either as the multi grips. Yeah, I'm not super impressed by those, but to be honest, I didn't expect to be impressed by them on that exercise. So yeah. And last up on the pull-ups, we've got my trusty backwards facing lasso straps. I actually think this is where they're going to fall down. Putting them on a pull-up bar while I've done it many a time, it's quite long-winded, and yeah, I don't love it. I think if you weren't familiar with them, it's a real pain in the ass to put these on a vertical pull that's above your head. But yeah, not too bad. They do feel like they're twizzling, rotating around the bar. I think that's the texture of the bar that there's no knurling on it. It does feel comfortable, but again, that's because I've used them God knows how many times. But yeah, you could hang here till the sun goes down. Don't know what that phrase was. But they do dig into your hands a bit more than either of the other two, actually. Obviously, your hand isn't touching the figure eight strap. It's to the side of it. But they definitely dig in more, holding on, than the multi-grips. But that's because they're textured. That might give you a little more grip. But again, the rubber, maybe it doesn't need that. All right, so before we go on to any other tests, we can definitely talk about price, because that is sort of regardless of how the tests go. They cost what they cost. Now, I don't have exact prices on the lasso and the figure eight straps because I bought them so long ago. However, I can tell you for a fact that the lasso straps were the least. I think they were probably about £10. I don't know what it is in euros or dollars. And the next one up by a small amount, maybe £12 to £15, I think, with the figure eight straps. But they are a name brand, they're Strength Shop. So you're paying a little premium for that, which you really don't need to pay. You could buy them off Amazon for probably the exact same price as lasso straps. And lastly up are the multi-grips. Now, even these ones from Service Strength, which I think has some pretty good value for money as far as name brands go, they were, I think, £25. In fact, I know they were £25, which is a lot less than Mike Israetel's brand or whatever brand he's associated with. So on this, I think for price, the straps, both the figure eight and the lasso straps, I think I'm going to give them a 9. Yeah. The reason being, they are some of the best value for money you can get in strength sports. You know, the lifting belt is great, but they are expensive. The cheaper ones, of course, but they're less useful. You get a big, heavy-duty powerlifting belt; they cost quite a lot of money. Whereas these, you can instantly improve your workouts by spending £10-15. Now these Service multi grips, I think £25 is reasonable for them. Build quality seems great. The materials feel great, but they are just expensive for something that does a very similar job to the other two. So I'm actually going to have to give these in general, not Mike Israetel's, whatever the hell they're called. These sort of generic ones, I think I'm going to give them a 6. So yeah, I still think that's a pretty good score, given that they're twice the price. But yeah, let's carry on with the tests. Okay, we're back in the kitchen, and we're going to be doing some underhand rows, which I think is quite a different test, actually. An underhand grip. It's probably less common usage of straps, again, mainly because there's a certain limit on what you can underhand row and pull underhand as opposed to overhand, so you're less likely to use them. To be honest, I don't do that many underhanded pulling movements because of a lack of mobility, I think. So you're going to see me struggle, I think, to pull these off in the first place. And first up, we've got these big tongue multi-grips. And yeah, this could be a little awkward to put on. And it is. That's the first one. Don't know how wide we want to go with these. Again, I don't do them that often. There we go. They're definitely the most awkward to put on in sort of straight barbell movements. But yeah, let's see how they form. I don't feel like they're very tight. Yeah, they feel okay. They feel very. The whole thing feels awkward, to be honest, personally. So that's not these things' fault. But they held up fine. I think they improved my grip. They're definitely stronger than if I didn't have them on. We've got 50, 60, 70 kilos on the bar. So not a huge test of strength for these things, or for me. A little bit more for me, I think. But yeah, they're perfectly fine for this. And I think these sort of bodybuilding movements are what these are made for. Okay, next up we have these figure eight straps for an underhand row. And to be honest, I'm not expecting anything out of these. I'm not even sure in what position you're supposed to put them on if you were to do this type of exercise with these. They're definitely not designed for this. Yeah, but let's give it a go anyway. I've never even put them on for an underhand. Hold on. Do you put them backwards? I guess you do. How do you... Maybe I'm just going to look like an idiot. I'm sure I do. But if you do that, and then do that, I think it might literally be... I'm sure it's not impossible. You could twist it and turn it in some fashion to do an underhand pull. But if you do that, say... I mean, yeah, I suppose you could do that. It's not... I don't even know if it's safe. But let's give it a go, shall we? So we put them on in a very different fashion for this, apparently. And... okay, let's bring it in the middle. And let's put our hand through that big great strap. Okay. This feels awkward as hell. Okay. I mean, I'm not holding on to the bar at all. some incredible grip. Very uncomfortable, rubbing the hell out of my forearm and hurts my thumb. But I didn't even have to hold onto the bar. Yeah, but really uncomfortable. Definitely not designed for that. If you have any need for a strap to support you in an underhand grip, do not buy or use figure eight straps. No surprise again, though. Last but not least, we have my lasso straps. These are the only ones I've ever tried to do underhand grips with before today. So I have some idea of how to put them on. But again, I think they're actually really awkward for this. Maybe they're easier if you wear them in the correct fashion, but for me, in my weird back to front fashion, they are a bit of a pain. So yeah, it does actually, at least for me, require two hands to get the first one on. Let's tighten that one up. Yeah. Oh, wrong way. That one's twisted to hell, actually. You can see how much of a pain in the arse this is. Let's go out, actually. Yep, sorry, out. It gives you a good idea, me messing up all the time, of how annoying these things can be to put on in certain positions that I don't usually use them in. I've got my hands a little bit narrower than the others, but yeah, they make a difference. They form pretty well, actually. And they're pretty easy to take off. I think that's something they have over those multi-grips. Although, yeah, I don't know. They're both pretty easy to take off. The figure eight's definitely the hardest of the three to take off once you've finished. At least, I think in today's exercises they have been. Yeah. So this is our final test. Might be a slightly weird test, given that straps are usually used for pulling and grip. But these multi-grips, as the name implies, are supposed to be multi-purpose and also provide wrist support. So we're going to cinch these down on my wrists, try and get some support out of them, and do some bench. Now, we're going to compare them not to the other two this time, just because the other two don't even advertise, and I wouldn't expect them to provide any wrist support. So we're going to compare them to regular old wrist wraps that I use. This test isn't going to be perfect, to be honest, because we've only got 80 kilos in the bar. We've got 80 kilos in the bar, A, because I'm a weakling, B, because I've started to get, in the past couple of weeks, some tendonitis in my elbows. So I don't want to push it too hard. And I think 80 kilos, for me personally, is the minimum weight that I would even consider putting straps on for. So yeah, let's see how they go. Cinching these down, you can get them tight. I've got fairly average to just below average size wrists. And it is kind of hard to get them tight enough. Some companies do different sizes for the cuffs. I'm sure that makes a difference. But to be honest, I can get them tight enough. They start to cut circulation out of my hand, but it doesn't feel like they provide that much in the way of support. But yeah, I've only ever done this. Well, this is my first time doing it. I warmed up with them on every set. Oh my god, that's actually too tight. Yeah, they're definitely tight enough, but I feel like I want the help a bit further up the hand and a bit. I just want it wider. It's almost the tightness isn't that useful in my opinion. I'm not entirely sure, and I'm not going to look it up on how to put these on. I don't need them for grip, so I'm just going to put them like that. It's a bit weird feeling these little flappy bits while benching. But yeah, let's see. You know what? They're better than I expected, but they're not great. I don't think they'll be a replacement for my wrist straps. Yeah, they're definitely better than nothing. If you only had these in your gym bag when you went to the gym and you thought, I kind of want to go heavy on a pushing movement and I want some wrist support, you could throw these on, but I think they're actually quite uncomfortable for that. You really have to cinch them down to get any support. And it does get to the point where, similar to like sort of knee wraps, actually, weirdly, you wouldn't want to keep them on for a whole session. You'd want to take them off pretty much immediately. Yeah, not great. But again, it's something that the other two don't provide. But we are going to compare them to their closest comparison. All right. So for those of you that don't know, these aren't technically in the test. These are wrist straps, and they're pretty simple. You literally just wrap them around. And the other good thing about these is you can get them not very tight, and they still provide wrist support, and you can cinch them down even more, and they give you a ton of wrist support. So I think they are definitely a better buy. These are very specific to this task, whereas those, I think it's sort of like a little bonus. But yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, they're just better. But those do provide support. I'm actually surprised. I'm talking them down, but they did perform better than I expected. And yeah, no, I think they get a bonus point or two for that. They are definitely higher in versatility because of that. But yeah, let's do the final rankings now, our final ratings on each of the criteria. Okay, then. We're going to finally put down our figures for the rest of these criteria for each of the straps. Start with versatility. These lasso straps, they're definitely more versatile than the figure eights, and I think they actually do have one little one up on the multi grips, which is deadlift. I think they're definitely better at deadlift and heavier movements in general than the multi grips. So I'm going to give these a pretty solid rating. I think you should really own these just for the price. I think they're so versatile. I'm going to give them a solid 8 out of 10. If I can write. I should have said these are out of 10, not out of 100 or anything. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. These figure eights performed pretty well, obviously, on the deadlift and actually on the pull up. I think any overhand movement, they're at least usable. Underhand movements, I would say totally unusable. And they're not meant to be, they're basically not meant to be versatile, and they're not. So I'm going to give these a 4, which is a real drag. Finally, we've got the multi grips. I think they are very similar to these in terms of versatility, but they do actually function as wrist supports, even if they're not great. I think they have to get a bonus point for that. So I think they are slightly more versatile. So I'm going to give them 9 out of 10. Next up, ease of use. And when I say ease of use, I mean how easy they put on, take off, etc. Again, start off with the lasso straps. I think they're slow to put on. And I think the first couple of times you put them on, you might be like, how am I doing this, etc., etc. But I think they're pretty easy to put on. And I think I'm going to give these guys a 7. I think we're going to go with a 7. Next up, we got this. We got the figure eights. They're easy. They're really easy to put on. You just put your hand through one hole and then through the other. Obviously, not as simple as that for the underhands, but I'm not going to consider that because I just don't think you should be doing that. And I'm going to give these guys a 9 on that. And last up, we've got the multi grips. I think they're a little harder to put on. Maybe once you've worn them a while and they've become a bit floppier, you can sort of get your hand in a bit easier. But out of the bag, they're quite firm and they don't want you to grip them so easily. So I'm actually going to give them. They do release easier. You don't have to wrap them around as much as these RDX ones, these little lasso strips. I'm tempted to give them a 7 or a 6. I'm actually going to cheat and I'm going to give them a 6.5. All right, and last up, comfort. I think the lasso straps, as I mentioned, I wear them differently to most people. And I think that's sort of to their detriment, the fact that I've had to sort of wear them in a different fashion from what they're intended to be worn as in how you're supposed to wear them. It gives them gives them some negative points, and they do start to rub. If you wear these on multiple sets in every exercise, let's say you've got a big back day and you think, I won't do any working sets without my straps on, which some people might choose to do. By the end, you are going to have a few little things there and there, like you might want to put some lifting tape on, or some plasters, or some band-aids, as Americans call them, just because it is uncomfortable. And I think because of that, I'm going to have to give them a 6. Is a 6 too harsh? I'm going to give them a 7, because it doesn't happen that often, to be honest with you. You probably won't have an issue. Figure eights, they're actually, I don't know if I talked about this, but they're pretty solid. And in any footage, they always kind of hang like this. They're a thick piece of material, and they are quite solid, and you can definitely feel them on your wrists, and they will rub if you continue to use them. You're probably not going to let use them as much as these, because once you get onto your pull-ups, etc., and your rows, you're probably not going to be putting these on, so it won't rub in the same way as these on after long periods of use. But they are uncomfortable, and I think I'm also going to have to give them a 7. Finally, we have the multi-grips. I don't have much experience with these, but I do think they are the most comfortable. That could be down to the fact that these guys do have some padding. As you can see, it's pretty worn in. That's not great. And these are a slightly more premium product, and the padding is more premium, and it goes further around, and it basically encapsulates the whole of your wrist. It goes the whole way around, so you're not exposed to any of the material that isn't the padding. And I suspect that's true for most of these multi-grips from what I've seen. So I'm actually going to have to give them a bonus. I don't imagine them rubbing very much. And actually also in the hand, these have texture. These don't cover your hand from the bar at all. So any knurling that's on the bar is what you're going to feel in your hand. These are a smooth, rubberized texture. So actually, I think I'm going to give these a 9, which I think is a pretty good score. Now, let's count them up, shall we? Okay, so 15, 24, 31. So 31 for the lasso straps. And then we have the figure eights. So 13, 22, 29. Yeah, that's kind of, I expected them to come below, so 29. And then this is the big mystery to me. I don't know how I think of these, obviously. So with the 0.5 is a bit annoying. So we've got 9, 6, 15, 24. Oh, okay. So we've got 30.5 for that. Now, that's pretty close. And the fact that I'm used to using these lasso straps and I'm not used to using the multi-grips probably means that these multi-grips are getting a bit of a harsh score because I'm quite loyal to these. So yeah, I do think the real option, unless you're hardcore into deadlifting and want to try these out, are these two options. I think if you're a new lifter or if you've never used straps before, I would say go with the lasso straps. Every lifter basically has these in their bag. They're super useful, and I think just grab these. And I think if you've been lifting a while and you're thinking, they do look good, and you're more into bodybuilding, because I think they're probably better for dumbbells as well. We didn't do a dumbbell test, but I would suspect if you're doing croc rows, I reckon they would be a better bet. So yeah, I think it's between these two, but ultimately the winner is the lasso straps. If you enjoyed or found any of this useful, give us a like and subscribe if you are still watching. And yeah, have a good day.